Hi everybody, and welcome to another product review. Today I have Iulia from Dataiku. Iulia, please introduce yourself and what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, indeed. So I'm Iulia. I'm a sales engineer for Dataiku based in Amsterdam, working on Nordics account. And my background is actually in data science, but I now tend to more of a high-level sales process around data science.
All right, excellent. And I haven't used Dataiku's tools myself, although I've been shown them. Can you give a little introduction of what Dataiku's tools actually are?
Definitely. So as you probably, if you've heard about it before, Dataiku is an end-to-end data science platform that brings a lot of different users together in order to collaborate and build data science solutions as quickly as possible in an enterprise-ready way, which is a lot of words, a lot of big words especially. But basically, it's just this platform on which people with different backgrounds and different skill sets can all work together, if it's via code, if it's via visual interfaces and designer sort of functionalities. They can experiment fast and bring stuff into production equally fast.
So the platform sounds pretty capable, and I think that there's probably overlap to a degree with some of the capabilities that maybe data warehouses might have, or that lone scientists working with notebooks might feel that they have. For those companies that aren't already investing in Dataiku and sort of just dropping and taking advantage of all the functionalities that it offers, what would you say is the compelling sort of central feature that might draw somebody to start to want to experiment with it and then sort of expand on the capabilities that it has to offer? What would you say is the main value?
Yeah, it's a great question. And actually, what I think some people might not realize when maybe you see a demo and you hear about it, like you said, there's a lot of products out there that kind of use the same messaging and the same words. So it's hard to tell what is what. But the main thing about Dataiku is that it's a layer on top of your existing technologies. So it can leverage everything that you already have. If that happens to be storage that you have in a data warehouse in the cloud or on-prem, we have a layer on top of it that connects to your data and just makes it available to everyone in our interface. But your data can be in SQL, it can be in Snowflake, it can be on Azure, it can be on Google Cloud. And to you, it would look the same in the Dataiku browser interface. So it kind of allows you to leverage the best of everything, if that's specialized compute or a different type of cluster or like Spark that you have in another tool. It just helps you bring it all together so that all the different users can use it at the same time without you having to switch to the newest, coolest thing whenever that pops up. If it does happen that you want to migrate to a new database or you want to use Python instead of SQL, that's always possible. And the interface that you use to do your projects will always stay the same if you're using Dataiku.
Okay, so it's a nice, in other circumstances, we talk about decoupling storage and compute, and this, I suppose, is a way of decoupling work processes or maybe workflows and compute and storage. Would that be a correct description?
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good explanation of it, actually. So we should steal that. Decoupling is definitely one of the words that you would use for it. Basically, no matter what is happening behind the scenes, however that changes and however that is flexible for whichever type of user you have, you can always get your work done in the same platform in the same way. So, someone who maybe is used to working with dashboards or just Excel even can use the same tools that a native coder would use, and they can actually help each other and collaborate better regardless of what their backgrounds are or the technologies that they're used to are.
Or does it cater to both? I mean, is Dataiku more of a tool for developers that are very comfortable with coding everything themselves, or is it more for sort of business analyst type people that are good with business logic but don't necessarily want to program?
We would say both, and I know that's a very strong statement to make. If you've been in rooms with hardcore coders and business analysts, they don't really like to agree that they work with the same tools. But what really makes Dataiku special is that it does have these functionalities that were thought out to be great for whatever background you come from. So for visual people, of course, the interface is visual, so that out of the box, it seems like it's mostly catered to the citizen data scientist type. However, there's so many code capabilities in there. You can create your own notebooks, you can connect with your preferred IDE, And as far as you're concerned, you can just code and then create your projects that way. But what makes it really powerful is that then those notebooks that you create, for example, can be packaged into a visual plugin that then the citizen data scientists can use. So as a coder, you can do pretty much everything you would do in your own way of work, but you're actually empowering all your other colleagues to leverage your work as well. So it's meant for collaboration. If you ask, is it more for coders or for visual? It's for them together. If they don't want to work together, maybe they could use separate tools, but the fact that they can do the same thing is what makes it really powerful.
It is pretty cool that something that's built by a coder can then be sort of built on by somebody that's not a coder. That doesn't tend to be the case otherwise. Normally you need to have a coder to build on something that a coder has made otherwise.
Exactly. Like the keyword is collaboration. And when we talk to clients, sometimes they would say, oh, we collaborate already. This is fine. We have the coders who make these notebooks and they can always share these notebooks with other people. But there's one thing for someone to scroll through a notebook for someone who doesn't code and kind of understand what's going on there. There's another thing when that appears as a plugin and you just have to put in the input and you can use it in your visual flow as if it was an out-of-the-box transformation. So it really makes it more accessible to collaborate and to have the business users closer to the development of the project.
I'm curious personally on how you have sort of continuity in versioning. So notebooks aren't necessarily designed from the beginning to be something that's enterprise grade, version controlled and all that kind of thing. Is that something that Dataiku handles on its own, or do you usually work together with something like maybe a Git service or some other version control service, and also maybe Scrum services and have them all sort of tied together? How does that work?
Yeah, definitely. That's a very important topic for us. Governance and traceability are something that pops up a lot with our customers. And it's very important that people know what's happening, which is why we have a lot of features for that as well that come out of the box. Now, beyond the fact that you can visually see everything that's happening and you can, store different versions of the data set throughout the transformation process. So you always visually can see the changes that have happened. Everything is integrated with Git, so you can create your own repository in another platform if you would like, and you can see the changes that happen and who's done them. So you can see that, this person accessed the data, this version of the data, they created this model, which is now this version of the model. So you can definitely trace all of that. And we even have capabilities for monitoring. If you have different tasks that have to run periodically, there's visibility for that. You can even automate things with what we call scenarios. So there's a lot of MLOps capabilities in there on top of all the governance. So yeah, data lineage is something that is very important.
That's really cool. I think many cloud vendors now are trying to build these sort of MLOps sort of all-in-one platforms, and I have to say the ones that I've tested do feel a little bit disconnected. It doesn't feel like one tool, it feels like many tools. That's not to say that each one of those things is bad, but it's a nicer experience when it all feels connected. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that in just a moment, but I know that you have a pretty neat demo and some stuff to show us that I'm very keen to see. So I was wondering if you're still up for showing that.
Definitely, and I can talk about it while we look at it. I think that's an even better idea. So to start with, this is what Dataiku looks like. You can open it up in your browser and interact in here. All the things that I mentioned, like seeing the fact that people worked on this project together, and there's a lot of properties like wikis that you can import and to-do lists and everything to keep it governable. But the place you'll spend most of your time is the flow, which is, like I said, the visual interface. You can notice that, a new person that joins can quite easily see what's been happening in this project. You have a data prep section where different databases have had different transformations on them. And then we have an area where machine learning happens, where you can design models on that data. So this, reflects to your data lineage question. You can definitely see where your data is and what's been happening to it. So I can, for example, see the schema that it has had throughout its life, and different processes that it's been in. We have things here that look like, we had a join, we have aggregation recipes. These are things that could be in code, but we do them with visual transformations instead. Or it could be something that a coder builds and then the visual user can leverage. So this is kind of what the whole data lineage thing would look like. And then we have the machine learning part where You can equally design a model with our interface. I can quickly show that. And you can see again all this, the concepts of governance. I can see the experiments that have been done, how long they took, all the different metrics that are stored out of the box. So there's a lot less you have to configure by yourself. We offer a lot of information just directly. So when you design a model, for example, all you have to do is do a bunch of checks in our wizard, which has been designed with data scientists in mind, to kind of replace the things that they don't want to do, which are, dummy encoding a value or deciding how you want to split your data set. These are things that no one really likes to code. Where the magic happens are actually the models themselves, which you can either use our out-of-the-box ones based on open source models, or you can always create your own custom code to also answer your coder question. So you can see that you have the option to add code to this yourself, but then when you go to the flow, it will still look just like a nice visual step-by-step thing that everyone can follow along to.
This is very cool, and it has similarities to data flow platforms in the sense that what you've been describing to me comes across as a very strong developer tool. What is the relationship between this environment that you're showing and everything from, maybe BI platforms where you would want to just consume some of the stuff that would come out of a process that you've built here, to sort of data flow scheduling type platforms? So This is a very strong developer tool. How does it tie into those other things that companies might have? Maybe Kafka, maybe, an ecosystem like that.
Yeah, definitely. So it is the same tool. Like I said, the answer will always be it's the same tool. So you've seen some of the developer features, but when I open a data set, you will see that the interface looks pretty much like Excel. So this is very handy for people who are used to just working with data. You will see that we determine the type of data that we have, and we then suggest different types of transformations that you can do by just, clicking around. So for example, I just click on Analyze and I get a very quick overview of my data and what it looks like, which again, you don't have to code. And as just a consuming user that wants to take a look around, they can get a lot of information with very low effort for them. You also have charts built in, which are similar to kind of any BI tool that you could see, where you can easily just drag and drop and create a type of chart. We have a lot of things out of the box that work with most chart types. But if you want to use, Power BI or another tool, we can also connect to that quite easily, and you can just add it to a dashboard or export it to one of your other tools. But like I said in the beginning, the idea would be that everyone does it together in the same place. So we have enough capabilities here that a BI user can also just be on the platform and work together. So what they can do is maybe they only have access to the dashboard that has been prepared for them. So instead of going and messing around with the models or with the data transformations, it could be that they only have this view, but it's still in the same place. Or you
so
can
those
also
are
just
dashboards that can
export
be
it.
prepared and they'll auto refresh and that kind of thing. So it's almost like a BI platform just there.
Exactly. So that's the thing that we're going for. You have your BI platform in here, you have your data flow platform in here, you have your place for model experimentation in here. And like you said, lastly, we also have scenarios and automation that you can do. And then you have a separate view where you can see all the things that should run periodically or all the checks that are going on. Someone from governance or security can also use the platform to make sure that no data drift has happened, and everything is just one other view in this one place.
Right. It occurred to me, we were talking about master data management earlier and the importance of governance. But a lot of people tend to think that governance is a people process, but it could just as well be a technological process. And if I have a team that has the capability, the development capability within the team to connect to a database and maybe make some kind of process, if we could use a tool like this to sort of document the process and sort of create, data lineage and other stuff that wasn't necessarily part of the thing that we were building, but which would be provided by something like Dataiku, that would be very useful, because then we don't have to ask for permission to do a project, but we still get all the data lineage and all the stuff that, governance strives for? Is that something like an unintentional byproduct? And how do people talk about, governance and lineage with respect to your product?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I think the fact that, there's so many capabilities in here that go beyond just, I want to be able to create my models, which is normally what people start with asking for. And then you realize, hey, on top of that, I actually have these collaborative tools, and I actually have the data lineage tools, which could be a solution in itself, but it's just an added bonus to the platform. So indeed, we can do a lot of data connections in here that IT kind of like sets up for you, and they do it with the right permissions, and they do it with the right access, and kind of connect all your data infrastructure together and make it available to you, again, with the right permissions. So that still translates through. So it's definitely a tool that makes everyone more able to do their own work and makes them more independent, as we believe in democratization of data and, well, as a consequence, data science. So it's definitely something that you could also use just to make sure that people can get to what they need faster. And in that scenario would be data.
I'm going to ask you a tough question here. I use a pretty unconventional programming language. I'm wondering, how well does it cater to people that don't use Python and R?
There's a lot of support for different languages, actually, and we also have a very extensive plugin library. So we have a lot of plugins out of the box where if something doesn't come in like the default version of Dataiku, you can use these plugins that were developed either by us or by third parties, which have different degrees of governance to them. So you can also create your own plugin for your own tool. So if you have, for example, your language that you use, you can make some support for that. But we also see that people create, libraries or different types of transformations that they would like to have available in there. So we extend our platform that way so that you can add open source capabilities to it to go even wider.
Cool. I'm going to see if I can give my favorite language, Julia, a try together with Dataiku.
I'm pretty support for Julia. I was expecting something way more niche and weird.
No. Julia is still a bit underground, but we'll see. All right. And then lastly, let's say you're a lone data scientist, as is often the case, working with your poor laptop, and you want to sort of introduce this type of work. How would you get started? Is there only an enterprise tier? Is there some kind of trial you can use? How would you get started?
There's different types of subscriptions that you can use that are, depending on the size of the company. And like you said, the size of users, we definitely have clients that start with, just a few users to test it out and then slowly extend towards the rest of the company. So there's definitely different licensing models that they can use. There's also trials that are available for people who just want to try it out for fun. If you don't, you don't have your company directly reach out to Dataiku. And what I really like about it is that we have a really big academy presence. So you can do a lot of learning paths, and you can definitely, go through the motions of using it as a data scientist, as an analyst, as a SQL-based person. So there's a lot of support for how to get started and how to get onboarded as quickly as possible, which can take as little as 2 days to, go to the motions of everything you need to make a model and send it to production, for example.
All right, that's pretty cool. I value very much the ability to try something on my own, because it's not always easy to get a whole organization behind, even if it's a small team when trying a new tech. Do you have any closing remarks or things you would like to suggest to our viewers to do?
I would definitely suggest for them to, look up Dataiku, and like I said, the university would be like a very good place to start, where you can check out one of the learning paths and get the feel of how it looks like and all the features that you see in there. Personally, the first time I tried it was during my interview process, actually, where they asked us to make a demo, and it was the best strategy ever, because as soon as I opened it, I was like, oh my God, this is like the dream platform for all the things that I wish I could, easily do. So I have no better suggestion than to just open it and try it, since then it will speak for itself afterwards. As a data scientist, I just feel like it makes all those things that you never really think of a lot easier, so you can actually do, the things that you care about and the exciting parts. So
more time over for the exciting stuff. That does sound good. All right. Great. Thanks, Iulia. Thanks for this product review. We will be seeing everybody. Yeah. See you everybody around.
Okay.